We often see the finished product, the polished idea, but we so rarely get to see the long, messy, and very human journey that got it there.
So in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct the work of neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, but not as a guru. Think of him more as a case study in how a creative identity actually gets formed, through a whole series of choices and failures and influences.
To really understand the incredibly disciplined scientist we see today, we have to start right here, with the turmoil of his past. This quote, well, it isn't just a backstory. It's the very foundation that everything else was built on. And to do this, we're going to use this concept of an idea genealogy. A simple way to think of it is like a creative family tree. This is going to be our guide for mapping out the roots, the trunk, and the branches of his body of work.
Every tree has roots, right? And Huberman's were anchored deep in a period of really intense crisis, a crisis that would end up defining his entire path forward.
What's really important here is the rapid succession of these events. First, the family unit fractures. Then comes trouble at school, getting into fights. And finally, he's sent to a residential treatment program. This wasn't just, typical teenage angst. It was a sequence of events that created a really powerful catalyst, a deep-seated fear of becoming what he called a permanent failure.
It's a pretty heavy question, but it's worth sitting with. Just pause for a moment and think about it for yourself. What were the big foundational crises that might have, maybe without you even realizing it, shaped the path you're on today?
So he hits this absolute low point. He's feeling like he's good at nothing, especially after his skateboarding dreams fell apart. And it's right then that he makes a conscious decision. He decides to forge a new core, a solid trunk for his life.
This was such a crucial first step. By writing that letter to his parents, by vowing to change, he made his commitment real. He externalized it. It was the very beginning of this systematic self-reinvention. Really, it was a decision to parent himself.
He didn't just hope things would get better, he actually engineered the change. You can see the process right here. He takes a step back with a leave of absence, he builds a new foundation at community college, and then he channels all of that raw, unfocused intensity into becoming, in his words, a monster of learning. He consciously built the discipline that he knew was missing.
Okay, so the trunk of his tree was strong. It was built on discipline and that powerful fear of failure. But the branches that grew from it, well, they were nourished by a surprising and incredibly diverse range of influences.
This contrast is what's so revealing about his unique makeup. You've got this combination of structured, rigorous science on one side, and then on the other, the unstructured, do-it-yourself ethos of countercultures like skateboarding and punk rock. And this fusion is absolutely key to his approach today. It's why he can explain really complex science with this direct, almost anti-establishment feel, bypassing traditional institutions to speak directly to his audience.
And that really highlights a central theme here. Our influences are not just accidental things that happen to us. They're a series of conscious choices we make about who and what we allow to shape our thinking.
But a creative tree is never perfect, is it? It bears scars, it has broken branches, and a lot of the time, those are the very places where the most important growth actually happens.
His first big dream was to be a professional skateboarder, but after repeated injuries and the pain of just watching his friends get better and surpass him, he was forced to pivot. That failure wasn't the end of the story. It was a necessary redirection that pointed him towards science.
Ultimately, each one of these failures, these losses, they all served as a point of refinement. The terrifying diving experience, a really painful breakup, even public criticism, they all worked to shape his character and clarify what truly matters to him.
It's a really good question to ask, not just about him, but about all of your influences. How do you critically look at the ideas you're absorbing, instead of just accepting them? Who gets a branch on your tree? And more importantly, why? So Huberman's story gives us a pretty powerful template for understanding how a body of work is built from the ground up. But now, let's turn that framework inward and see how you can actually apply it to yourself.
These four components, your roots in crisis, the trunk of your principles, the branches of your influences, and the scars left by your failures. These are the starting points for mapping your own, totally unique intellectual lineage.
Really, the first step is just awareness. Just take a simple inventory of the key voices, the experiences, and even the mistakes that have already shaped the way you think today.
And that really brings us to the final takeaway.
The goal here isn't to replicate someone else's tree. It's to understand that messy, beautiful, and powerful process of growth, and to begin consciously to cultivate your own.